Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the Wine with Jimmy channel here on YouTube. Thank you so much for stopping by, and welcome to a series here to help those of you studying the world of wine. That's what we're all about here, to help you get more from it, more comprehension, more understanding, so you can, of course, if you are taking examinations in wine, you can have the confidence to really dominate them and really be successful. Here we are looking at one of those series. This is on southern Italy for the WSET Level 4 Diploma. And this is looking at the likes of Sicilia. So we're on Sicilia and we're looking at part 2 here on the climate, topography and geology. This is a free video, of course. Any other videos that follow this, that's part 3 all the way to 8, are only available on my e-learning portal. They're videos on this series on the grape varieties and key appellations, including Google 3D Earth videos. You can visit that at winewithjimmy.com. That's where we find the portal. Really useful resource for those of you studying. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns at any time during this video, please do pop it in the comments section below. Make sure you click like and you click subscribe. You can also use the world of social media if you are that way inclined. So let's look at the climate and the topography and the geology of this large, well, the largest Mediterranean island that we find. So first of all, the climate of this area. So because of its location, and we think logically about this, Sicilia will have a warm Mediterranean climate. And that's logical, right? Where the location is. And that's going to be fairly suitable for grape growing. But we know it's a huge area. It's a large autonomous region, the largest island in the Mediterranean. So therefore, there are areas of this island which have specific microclimates. For example, one of the most important to discuss here is Mount Etna, Mongebello, because this is a mountain, a volcano, which dominates the landscape in the northeast. And this means that we have even a slightly alpine, continental influenced location up there, which is very different to the rest of Sicily, for example. Low rainfall across most of Sicilia really means that irrigation is necessary, especially in high production areas like on the western side of the island. The picture, by the way, here is of not of Sicilia, the main island, but of Pantelleria, which is a small island which is famous for passito, closer towards the Tunisian coast of Africa rather than Sicilia. And it just gives you an idea of a real Mediterranean feel. But you could really take a lot of pictures from Sicilia as well. More things around the climate. So this is the island of Sicily that we see here. Palermo, the capital city, founded by the Phoenicians, remember sitting towards the west. Catania is the Greek side. This is the other important airport that you may fly to if you go to Sicilia. And there's Mount Etna sitting towards the northeast, right there at over 3,000 meters. And then there's lots of nice sort of terrain we're going to go through here very shortly, but I've drawn in a nice big red arrow here for you. And that's really a very important wind pattern. The island is actually impacted by many different wind patterns. We've got the Tramontana, which comes from the north and offers a bit of a cooling effect, but it's this big southern southwesterly wind called the Sirocco. And the Sirocco is hot and it is dry. It can dehydrate vines, interrupt ripening, and seriously reduce the crop. And it's actually one of the main reasons why we don't tend to have many vines down in this southern coast area. A lot on the west, loads on this west, in fact. And then, of course, a very famous production around Etna, protected. And then some right down around Ragusa, around Vittoria. But this is the Sirocco wind, so very powerful. This means that we can have issues with drought during summer months, but irrigation is allowed, and when it occurs, the water will be, of course, very, very important in this area. So that's important to ever think about, just the fact that it can be really hot and dry on that southern coast of Sicilia. What about topography of this area? Now, about 2/3 of Sicily is hills, and the majority of vineyards will be found on those hills. And then around a quarter of the production would then be our mountains that we find here. The highest mountain ranges are in the northern part of Sicilia. And you'll see this from the darkest shade of brown that you see on the map. Let's get some arrows out here. So, of course, Etna is very significant as a mountain. This is a volcano which is over 3,000 meters tall. We've also then got the lots of different ranges like the Pelleritani, Nebrodi, and Medoni ranges. They form the Sicilian Apennines, and that's this area along this bit. And you can see that this is kind of an extension of the Apennines that come through mainland Italy around Calabria, and they continue down here, as you can see. Okay, so that's an important domination of the highest peaks. We also have down here, south of Catania, to the west of Syracuse, and just to the northeast of Ragusa, is a mountain called Monte Iblai. And that is an area which is important to separate really the kind of Syracusan east to the Vittorian west in this southeastern section. And then the mountain range on the other side is Monte Siccani over on this side. So we have some mountains to the west, some small mountains to the southeast, but the most focus is the Sicilian Apennines and then, of course, Mount Etna of itself there. Okay, it's geology here. So first of all, this area around the Sicilian Apennines and Mount Etna, this area here, of course, is exceptionally famous for volcanic activity. So is the Aeolian Islands. So that's just to the north of this map. So the likes of Stromboli, Volcano, Lipari, Salinas, those islands, the Aeolian Islands, are volcanic in origin, as also is Pantelleria, which is actually all the way off towards the African coast, Tunisia. These are volcanic. Volcanic soils feature strata of differing geological origins, including around something like 40 to 50 types of lava types here in Etna, for example. The soil is, of course, volcanic, rich in minerals. It's formed by the disintegration of one or several types of lava of differing ages and eruptive materials such as lava, ash, and sand. Containing all these particles, the crops cultivated on Etna benefit from the nutrients like iron, copper, phosphorus, magnesium, and others. And on Etna, for instance, we're going to look at this on a future video. Etna is found for vineyards on the north, the east, and the south, but not the west. But that's where we find a lot of pistachios, Bronte pistachios, very famous and able to grow, of course, on those volcanic soils. Here, because of soils like you see in this picture, volcanic, this is not somewhere that phylloxera likes to exist or can exist. So therefore, there's an existence here of a lot of pre-phylloxera vines and ungrafted vines found in this location. So Mount Etna, for example. Where else are we going to look for some geology? Well, I want to talk about areas like this western zone and also the southeastern zone. Both of these areas, we find limestone, we find clays, we find some sandstone as well. Famously, though, what we do find, certainly around Ragusa and Vittoria, are terra rossa soils, red earth soils, which have often about half a meter of iron clay on top of a limestone bedrock. The limestone is what really produces the very fresh character of wines, with a more sort of mineral acid type tannin compared to the kind of grippier, smoky tannins of Etna, for example. And when I visited Sicily, I had an epiphany with the red wines here. If you compare the Nerello Mascalese of Mount Etna compared to the Frappato and Nero d'Avola blends of somewhere like Cerasuelo di Vittoria, so that is out Mount Etna here compared to where this arrow down here is pointing, like Cerasuelo di Vittoria. These two red wines are often wonderfully elegant, but very different in their acids and very different in their tannins. And the geology is a huge part to play in that, because the southern area, which makes Cerasuelo di Vittoria, is made mainly on limestone and terra rossa, whereas Mount Etna is much about volcanoes. So you find that you have that smokier, grippier tannin of Mount Etna, and you have this kind of crystalline, minerally linear acidity and tannin found in places like Cerasuelo di Vittoria, for example. Wonderful stuff. So that brings me to the end of part 2. Please do join me for part 3, where we start to look at all the major grape varieties. Part 3 actually is on the Marsala grapes, which are mainly from the west of the island. We'll also talk about key appellations as we go through these videos, but parts 3 through to 8 are only available to my subscribers of my portal over at www.winewithjimmy.com. You'll find that at the bottom of the slide just there. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please do get in touch. You can do so by commenting on this video below or by social media. And if you find yourself in the UK, please come and say hi at one of my establishments for a class, a glass, or a bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now. Goodbye.